If Denver does the seemingly impossible and ends chronic homelessness as planned, this week will mark the start. For the first time, the city's clearing an encampment not by pushing people to the next street over, but by providing a hotel room to anyone who wants it. Here's Mark Salinger.
We've seen this story before. The crime tape goes up, the cops arrive, and the people living here are told to move.
Well, I've been in Denver for about 10 years, but on the streets for about almost four.
This is Mary Jane, or at least that's what she goes by around here. She's lived in the camp on the corner of 8th and Logan for several weeks now.
It's irritating when people just throw trash on the ground like this. There's no need for it.
We met her, trying to keep the alley clean.
I wouldn't like this in my backyard either.
She hates living like this, but after a house fire left her homeless and battling addiction, she hasn't been able to find a way out.
You know, every morning I wake up and I'm just like, God, like it's like reality. It's just hard. I have no one out here. I have no family.
Life out here comes with uncertainty.
Where am I going to go to the restroom? Like, where am I going to shower? Where am I going to wash my clothes? It's just, those things come first and then everything else gets put on the back burner. Where am I going to eat? You know, like, what am I going to eat?
Questions swirl around her mind every day. Like, what will the cops do? What happens when the city sweeps the camp? She knows what the sweeps have looked like before.
They'll be here at 5 a.m. and they're yelling and it's, you know, let's go, get off the property, or we're going to start arresting people.
Today, though, looks different. Something Mary Jane has never seen out here.
I feel like I can breathe right now. It's really cool. What they're doing is really cool. How they came out and it's kind of like in your face, you know? It's like, let's go.
Buses arrived today to take people to a hotel converted into a shelter. Under Mayor Mike Johnston, Denver will now provide housing to everyone living in camps that are swept.
This is the first time in 4 years that I've ever been approached with this opportunity.
Opportunity. It's something Mary Jane hasn't seen a whole lot of recently.
I can like take a shower and then go to like a job interview or go to the doctor's, you know, so that's just like those little things that I don't know, I guess I really used to take for granted, and now I can finally I just feel human again.
Tomorrow, her tent and all those around it will be swept away by the city. The difference this time, though, is that tonight she'll sleep under a roof.
I've never been treated so much like an equal before in a sweep than this right here, so that's really cool.
The city called today Moving Day, taking people out of the tents at the camp and then making them move to a hotel if that's what they chose. What comes tomorrow will likely be what most people know as the sweep. Homeless advocates are expecting the city to come through in the morning and throw away belongings and put up fences around the camp. While today looked far different from what we've seen in the past, Kyle, we'll see what tomorrow looks like compared to what we've seen in the Hancock administration.
That was a really tough thing to watch. That was an emotional thing to watch, because you just see somebody saying, I don't want to live like this, but I've got problems in life and I'm stuck here. But I really felt like Mary Jane had hope by the end of your conversation.
She had hope that she had not felt in the 4 years that she'd been living on the street. I didn't necessarily expect to find someone like that saying, this is different, this feels different. But she obviously shows that this is not how they've been treated in past years with the past administration. She has hope that this is different and that she'll be able to change her life around.
So just real quick, we know that advocates for people experiencing homelessness have said that they think that like 90% of people in surveys will say that we will take shelter if we get shelter. Do we know how many took it from that camp?
Today, talking from the city, talking to homeless advocates, and talking to people who are experiencing homelessness, everybody that we talked to said almost everybody is saying, yes, I want these services. City had 70 spots. We don't know exactly how many people said, I want some, and we're not able to get in.
Wish people like her the best, you know, that they can get that footing in life. Mark, thank you. Great story. Denver is now sheltering a near record number of migrants. There's been another surge in arrivals from the southern border. It's just a month ago that a significant drop in new arrivals led the city to let its state of emergency lapse. About 1,700 migrants are currently staying in shelters run by the city's partners. 250 new folks came just yesterday. There was a drop-off in border crossings this summer when new rules took effect, and we saw that happen here. Fewer new people arriving. But border towns are again reporting record numbers of arrivals, and some of those folks we know are headed for Denver. We spoke with John Martin. He oversees 3 migrant shelters in El Paso, Texas. He says many migrants see Denver as a stopping point on the way to other places.
Whether it be real or perceived, they're under the impression that if they can make it to Denver, that a ticket will be purchased for them to get them to an alternate destination.
And we know that that's happened. A spokesperson for the city of Denver says that as of late August, the city had purchased nearly 9,000 bus tickets for migrants who said they wanted to go somewhere else. There were enough going to Chicago and New York City that both of those cities told Denver to stop chartering buses of migrants. The city of Denver says the state has stopped chartering buses. They were the ones doing that. The city continues to buy individual bus tickets. The two former Clear Creek County Sheriff's deputies involved in shooting and killing Christian Glass now have a plea deal on the table. Andrew Bune and Kyle Gould have until November 2nd to consider the deal that's being offered by prosecutors to avoid trial. Bune faces the potential of decades in prison if he's convicted of second-degree murder. He was the one who broke out Glass's car window during the mental health call and then shot and killed him. Gould is facing up to 3 years if convicted of criminally negligent homicide. Prosecutors say he was actually off-site. He was watching a body camera live stream of the interactions with Christian Glass, and he gave the order to break that window. A new nationwide report from libraries says that attempts to ban books are at their highest level in 20 years. And Colorado is one of a handful of states where more than 100 books are being targeted. So each year, the American Library Association tracks efforts to ban or censor material in public libraries, and schools, and universities. So far this year, they have reported challenges to nearly 2,000 books across the country. And there are libraries in 11 states, including in Colorado, who say that they have dealt with challenges to more than 100 book titles this year alone. We reached out to James LaRue, who spent years leading the American Library Association's research before he came home to Colorado to run the Garfield Public Library District. He told us the latest spike in book ban campaigns are being led by conservative advocacy groups that coordinate state to state.
I think it's more about the will to power. It's about the attempt to seize political control, about the attempt to raise campaign money by kind of riling up the base about, oh my gosh, look at this terrible stuff happening at the library. And although people often talk about it like the problem is sex, it's always sex about LGBTQ people or people of color. So I think that this is a moment in our history when these shifts in our society are upsetting a lot of people and they're striking out at institutions.
So there is the outside pressure, and then there is the internal response from libraries. Late last week, Library Board in Weld County reached a $250,000 settlement with a librarian they fired for running anti-racist and pro-LGBTQ workshops. Berkey Park says the High Plains Library District canceled her programs for being quote-unquote inflammatory. She says she pushed back against the new rules and got fired. The State Civil Rights Commission sided with her. So the settlement will cost that library district $250,000 and also requires that they add policies encouraging inclusive content.
I went for a year, almost a year being unemployed, and to try to do that and fight this kind of battle is really hard for just one person to do. And so, you know, I would encourage the communities to pay attention to what their libraries are doing, whether it be school library or public library, and come forward and take a stand and speak up and make your voices heard.
The Library District's Board of Trustees started changing some policies last week, but they still have that ban on so-called inflammatory content. Hey, I want to thank you for your generosity toward a nonprofit that helps survivors of domestic violence in northern Colorado. Your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign raised more than $15,000 for Alternatives to Violence. They help people in Loveland and Larimer escape dangerous situations and walk with them as they build new lives in the community. Your weekly microgiving has now raised more than $11 million for Colorado's nonprofits since 2020. Email me any ideas you have about organizations that could use our support, or maybe just a tough issue somewhere in your community that we might together be able to make an impact on.
I can just see in him how he wanted to be better, he wanted to be different, and he just wasn't able to overcome it.
Putting some names and faces to the Coloradans lost to fentanyl. Denver's fire department is blocking the construction of new traffic circles, which is weird because the city says the fire department already approved them. That's next.
Broncos country? You deserve better. And the Denver Broncos ownership group is committed to making an unprecedented investment to turn things around. Coming in 2024, the Mile High Party Deck. Yay! A multi-million-dollar distraction from the consistently bad product on the field. In fact, you won't even be able to see the field from the Mile High Party Deck. It'll face west, because a Broncos sunset is always a winner. Picture something like this, but not constantly full of Cubs and Cardinals fans. The Mile High Party Deck, because the next best thing to a competitive team is a comfy seat, a cold beer, and a mountain view. The Mile High Party Deck, coming next season. Enter from the 300 level through the Vance Joseph revolving door.
The Denver Fire Department says it will temporarily block the installation of new neighborhood traffic circles in the city. This is a big win for the not in my backyard types who've been trying to block changes aimed at making streets safer for people who walk and ride. Steve Stager is our expert on this kind of thing. And Steve, so Fire Department says that this is about maneuvering their fire trucks in the circles, but the city tells you that they designed the traffic circle specifically for the fire truck.
Specifically for them. Their control vehicle for testing these things out is a fire truck. And a spokeswoman for Dottie told me a plan review specialist from the fire department has signed off on all the designs so far. Denver has about 36 of these so-called mini circles so far, with plans to install more down the road. Traffic engineers say they move traffic more efficiently, they reduce noise inside neighborhoods, and they make intersections safer for pedestrians and cyclists. They also slow traffic down. Denver Fire told us that they've decided to implement a temporary moratorium on signing off on future designs to study the impact on their operations. But traffic engineers we talked to today say any impact on response times for emergency vehicles is negligible. By law, even a fire truck with lights on has to stop at a four-way stop now. These intersections allow vehicles to keep moving. They're designed so fire trucks can mount the curb if they're too wide to make the curb.
Usually they'll have a mountable apron. And even all the ones I've seen around Denver, it wouldn't be hard for a fire truck to mount over the traffic circle and get to where they're going.
We actually speed up fire trucks compared to anything else that we would do. A four-way stop is really going to bring the emergency responder to a dead halt. It has to, by law. Where a mini circle, they have to slow down to where they can see, but it's a yield condition. And they're coming in code 3, so they can see, and they never need to stop. So it's an improvement in their response time.
Code 3 means lights and sirens, for those of you wondering. Both of those engineers say the irony is fire crews are responding to more and more crashes. And Dan Burden, who helps design those things for a living, told me in Seattle, where they've installed about 3,000 of these mini circles, they've seen a 98% reduction in crashes. Dottie and DFD say that they're talking through ways to make sure that these traffic circles are safe now for everyone, including the fire trucks that make their way through.
I learned a new term today, Steve, mountable apron.
Yes. Yeah, I've been doing that ever since I started driving. I'm pretty sure I drive over almost every curb I see.
Yeah.
So including when I was like a 16-year-old, I was just hitting curbs left and right.
Yeah,
so,
you were mounting unmountable aprons.
There you go. Yeah.
But if they can be mounted, they're not unmountable.
Nerdy
Anyway,
traffic design lingo.
Yeah, that was interesting stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. 40 degrees at the airport this morning, Danielle Grant.
Did you like it?
Is that business? I kind of did, but
Yeah,
I'm a fall aficionado, so.
I know, the sweatshirt and the shorts,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season. We're looking really good, you guys. We're going to have those crisp early mornings, and then by the afternoon, the sunshine is out, and it is going to feel so good. Tough to find any clouds, just bright and blue on a Monday afternoon. We're looking good. Yes, the daytime highs soared into the mid to upper 80s out there off to the eastern plains, the metro area too, 90 in Lamar with 60s and 70s to the high country. Tonight, not a lot going on the radar. You can see tonight, 40s and low 50s, so a little more mild compared to this morning. High pressure is around, so that's going to keep us dry. It's going to also help to warm up our temperatures yet again. I know it is our first weekend, or I should say first week of fall, but it's not going to feel like it. Summertime, still the name of the game. We'll be back to the low 80s tomorrow afternoon, 90s again in Lamar, 70s up into the high country. Picture perfect fall foliage viewing. We're going to stay in the 80s in the metro area with all that sunshine till the weekend. Right now I have a little cool off coming our way early next week as we kick off October.
What we want to do is humanize this individual through the stories that we all have.
Coloradans lost to drug overdoses are not numbers. They were loved. They are loved. Learn some names and faces next. Constant conversations about the disease of addiction have not completely eliminated the stigma. There's a traveling art project that has come to Colorado, offering a new way to see our neighbors who have struggled with addiction.
Looking at a few pictures from the mountains, we lost our son Spencer in December of 2021. He was at our house for Christmas Day, and he went home, and the next morning we got a call from the coroner's office that he was gone. Unfortunately, he took the wrong pill, and it had fentanyl. Hi, I'm Jamie Sharp, and I'm the Colorado ambassador for Into Light, a project that brings awareness to the stigma around substance abuse disorder. And I was looking for some way to direct my grief. And I came across Into Light, and I knew right away it would be a beautiful way to honor my son and other Colorado residents that had suffered from substance abuse disorder. The tough part is figuring out what photo you're going to have them draw, because there's so many wonderful memories you have of your loved ones. Then when Teresa was able to bring it to life, it was just so incredible for us to see.
Into Light, it's a nonprofit national project that was born out of tragedy. My name is Teresa Clower. I'm executive director and founder of Into Light Project. I lost my son, Devin, in 2018 to an accidental fentanyl overdose. And Devin's death propelled me into looking for ways to manage grief. We have a goal now of 41 people who have died in each state in the country from drug addiction, and hold public exhibitions of those individual portraits and stories so that we can begin changing the conversation about drug addiction. Stigma keeps people from asking for the help that they need, for accepting the help that they need, for getting the help that they need. What we want to do is humanize this individual through the stories that we all have.
Teresa did an incredible job of capturing his eyes. There's a little bit of mischievousness in there. What I want people to come out of is to look into those pictures, read through those narratives, and maybe they're going to recognize something in a loved one or a friend and help them to get the help that they need, because we want to prevent other families from having to go through this.
That exhibit's on display at a number of spots across the DU campus. Portraits will be up through mid-November. Your feedback that made us think tonight, and smile as well. That's next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a dinner with 3,000 of your closest friends. Each year, people in Buena Vista get together and they have a family meal on Main Street. Last week, 2,800 people showed up for the tradition's 10th anniversary. This is special. I love this every single year. It took more than 300 tables to fit everybody for this year's family meal. This is the family meal in 2016. That's community in action, and I love it. If your town has a cool tradition, share it with us. Email next@9news.com or get my attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Feedback on Mark Salinger's reporting about the woman, Mary Jane, that we met in the encampment. She's headed for a hotel with hope for her future. Judy White says, broke my heart watching Mary Jane, remembering gratitude at that moment. Oh my goodness, the feedback tonight about my suggestion that the Denver Broncos build a party deck where people could watch something other than the product on the field. Dean is not happy. Dean says, bad journalism and bad football, what we expect now in Colorado. Just a reminder, Dean, that you don't have to watch either. David says, that was a brutal takedown. The question is, of whom? Was it the Rockies or the Broncos? And a text saying, please post that on Facebook. I will post it on Facebook. Said, I got to show that Mile High Party Deck commercial to everyone. Well, not everyone. Please don't show it to the people in charge of the Broncos or the Rockies or 9 News. You can show it to all the other people, but not those folks. We'll see you next time.